the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shigaru and Garanga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. So, okay. So today, guys, is the most auspicious appearance day of Vraha, who we fasted for yesterday. So, and feasted. We had, because, fasting means feasting on Ekadashi. And that was quite a feast. And actually, it's a very, very amazing week because today is the appearance of Vraha Dev. And then tomorrow we had the auspicious appearance day of Shri Nityananda Prabhu, or Nityananda Trayodasi. So when Krishna comes, he appears for 3 reasons: to annihilate the miscreants, to reestablish the principles of religion, and to deliver the pious, or also for his devotees falls into that category as well. So Jayadev Goswami glorifies Vraha in his Dasha Avatar song, where Vraha is one of the Dasha Avatars. So first we have Matsya, and then we have Kurma, and then there's Vraha. And then after Vraha, there's Nishingadev, half man, half lion. And then after Nishingadev, there is no. Vamana. And then after Vamana, we have Parshuram. And then after Parshuram, we have yes. And then after Ramchandra, Balaram. And then after Balaram, Buddha. And then after Buddha, Kalki. Okay. So Jayadev Goswami says in his translation, O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, you have assumed the form of a boar. All glories to you. The earth, which had become immersed in the Garbhadaka ocean at the bottom of the universe, sits fixed upon the tip of your tusk, like a spot upon the moon. So, the Shastras tell us that when we appear, when we take birth in this world, it's out of our own karma that we get a specific type of body. You hear about this in the Bhagavad Gita. We get a certain type of ear, nose, eyes, mouth, certain type of parents. We're born in a certain type of country. We're born wealthy or we're born poor. And then science will tell us, if we put our faith in them, that we have evolved through this process of evolution. I don't know exactly what the current theory is, although I'm pretty sure it's very different from what I learned in school. But originally there was like this primordial soup, and then that came some bacteria, which then came fish, which then came animals that live on the land, which then eventually evolved into humans. So this is the process of evolution they teach us. But the real evolution is that actually, due to our activities, we have been wandering around in lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in different bodies. So we've had the body of a fish, the body of a turtle, the body of a boar, the body of a human being, body of one of the cockroaches. We've been one of the demigods, maybe Brahma, Indra, things like this. Wandering around in this cycle of birth and death. But when Krishna comes, he does not come because of his karma. He comes out of his own sweet will. So we can see that Krishna also, for his enjoyment and for these 3 reasons that I just explained, he will take various forms, like Matsya, Kurma, Vraha. And in various different species, the Lord will appear. And I remember when I had first heard this, oh, did you know there is a turtle incarnation of God? There's a fish incarnation of God. There's a boar incarnation of God. I said, what? He said, there's even a horse incarnation of God. And I thought the devotees had lost it. You're telling me God's also an animal. Okay, blue boy. I just accepted he's a blue boy. Now you're telling me he's an animal too. That's stretching it. And then they responded with, so you think God is unlimited? Yes. Well, then why are you limiting God by saying he cannot appear in the form of a boar, the form of a fish, the form of a tortoise? Okay, I was defeated. So today, we're glorifying Shri Vraha. And then tomorrow we'll glorify Lord Nityananda. When Shri Vraha appeared, he killed Hiranyaksha with weapons. And that's generally what the incarnations of Krishna do. Kill with weapons. Or like Hiranyakashipu killed with nails. And then tomorrow we'll celebrate Lord Nityananda. When Lord Nityananda appeared, it didn't kill with weapons. Because when Lord Chaitanya wanted to kill Jagai and Mara or for offending Lord Nityananda, Lord Nityananda told him, my Lord, this is not the purpose of your incarnation, because in Kali Yuga, everyone is this way, so you'll have to kill everyone. So therefore, in Kali Yuga, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, they killed the demoniac mentality within the jivas that we all have, and the weapons are kartels and mridangas instead of sudarshan chakras and maces like we're going to discuss today. So, without further ado, we'll get into more of Vraha. So the story of Vraha is told in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It spreads over several chapters. And so at the very end of chapter 13, Vidur tells Maitreya, who other than one who is not a human being can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? Who wants to be delivered from all material pains? All right, yes. All right, well, let's hear about the pastimes of Vraha. So Vraha, he actually appeared 2 different times, or of course, the pastimes of the Lord are eternal. But the Srimad Bhagavatam discusses 2 different appearances of Vraha. Commonly, we hear about him killing the demon Hiranyaksha, and that is known as Rakta Vraha. He appears in one Manvantara, but the first time he appears, which I'll discuss, is he appears in the age of Swayambhuva Manu, known as Sweta Vraha. So as we know, our very dear Lord Brahma, who's in charge of creating this universe, engineering everything, he was doing his duty, and naturally he saw that this universe needed to be populated. So from him came Swayambhuva Manu. And so Swayambhuva Manu, being the very obedient son, said to his father, Lord Brahma, how can I serve you, Father? So Lord Brahma said, oh, you're a very good son. I want you to populate the earth. There's different jivas that need to take birth here in the material world because they're wanting to enjoy the Lord's material energy. And so Manu said, yes, Father, I will do it. But there was one problem. And that was that the earth had been submerged in the Garbhodaka ocean. And it had been gone down towards the lower planetary systems. And so we can even see that in the life of Lord Brahma, the life of Swayambhuva Manu, there's challenges in devotional service, is there not? I mean, Lord Brahma had challenges. Here he is in charge of populating the universe and the Earth planet, which is actually no ordinary planet, because this is the one planet which one by their various activities, they can either go up or they can either go down. Because in the lower planetary systems, we're suffering the reactions of our karma. higher planetary systems, you're more enjoying the reactions of your karma. So, but in the Earth planets, it's one planet you can go up, you can go down, or you can get out of the cycle. So it's a very important planet. So we even see that Lord Brahma had a problem. Here he is trying to do his duty in devotional service, but yet the Earth has been submerged in the ocean. So, but he teaches us what to do when there's a problem in devotional service. So Lord Brahma, as we know, he was instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So he takes shelter of the Lord. Quite often, as we might take shelter of our Gurudev when, we have some problem in devotional service. Who calls the Guru, hey, Gurudev, come, I got this problem going on. And so Lord Brahma, he takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking, how will I solve this problem? But that's the thing in devotional service. Whenever we're acting in accordance with the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whenever Krishna wants to accomplish something through his devotee, as long as we're acting in alignment with that will, even if there's apparent challenges, Krishna will do miraculous things to help us resolve them. And what could be more miraculous than a boar coming out of somebody's nose? Usually boars don't come out of people's noses, right? And we used to joke and say Vraha was Lord Brahma's booger. So anyway, while Lord Brahma's thinking this boar starts coming out of his nose. And he's the size of a thumb. So you look at your thumb, you can kind of imagine, the size of a thumb. And then he starts to grow. Think about how big the Earth planet is. So Vraha grows until the Earth can tiny Earth can fit on one of his tusks. But here's the miraculous thing. While he's growing, Manu sees this. The Kumars see this. All the great sages see this. And they begin to argue. What is this? Amongst themselves. What's going on? And then Lord Vraha, just to dispel the fear of his devotees, because it's a very fearful thing they're undergoing, he roars very loudly. And it's described that the roar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it puts fear in the demons, but yet it gives relief to the devotees. So therefore, the Lord, he dove into the ocean, and he pulled out the earth, so Swayambhuvamana could then therefore do his service. He's very creative, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here in this form of a boar, because the earth is down in the bottom of this ocean. It's in the mud, the muck, and everything else. So he goes down as a boar and pulls the earth out, and it sets the earth back in its rightful spot. So therefore, Lord Brahma, Swayambhuvamanu are able to continue their service. But then the most common form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that we hear about is Rakta Vraha. And we'll also talk about this one today, because whenever we talk about the killings of demons, it's very auspicious. So once upon a time, it all starts with Diti and Aditi. So Diti had married Kashyapa, and thing is, she wanted a child because Kashyapa had given her sister, a child, and she also wanted a child. And so there's Diti and Aditi. So Diti is the mother of the demons, and Aditi is the mother of the devas. So you can imagine the demons and the demigods are actually cousins. They're very closely related. Just like within ourselves, we see that we're marginal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the demonic tendencies within us and the divine qualities within us, they're very close. Depending on how we place our association, we can go one way or another. So DT, she's wanting this child from Kashyapa. But Kashyapa, her husband, is meditating during the sunset, the sangyas. So we have 3 sangyas, and generally as devotees, we're chanting Gayatri during these sangyas. And spiritual activities are very auspicious during this time. But to do anything involving sense gratification, it's a very inauspicious time. So timing is very important in the world. So DT, she's wanting this child from her son. She's overcome with lusty desires, whatever. And he's telling her, now's not a good time. Wait a few minutes because Lord Shiva, he's doing his service. He's traveling around with all the ghosts and all the various demonic living entities. And what's Lord Shiva's job? Because he gives shelter to them. His job is to help them find bodies, take birth. So he's telling her, now's not a very good time. But she's thinking, oh, because Lord Shiva is my brother-in-law. He's the husband of my sister Sati. He'll be very kind, thinking that she's going to get a pool. So, but Lord Shiva, he's always dedicated to his service. You don't have this like you have in the material world, like the good old boys club. I'm going to help you out because of our relation. So, so anyway, she can't wait a few minutes. As we know, the story goes, Kashyapa goes and lies with her anyway. And then afterwards, she becomes very regretful. So we can see that I think we've all been in the position of DT before. You do something that in the very beginning is not going to give an auspicious results, but you do it anyway, and then you feel bad afterwards. So we've all been there. I mean, look what happened with Ajamil. He also knew going with this prostitute. It's not a very good idea, but yet he couldn't help himself. So therefore, he had to suffer for this later. So afterwards, Aditi is feeling the common guilt that we all feel whenever we do something that we know is not good. And she goes to her husband, and she's wanting to somehow rectify this problem. And her husband tells her, because you neglected the auspicious timings, you neglected the demigods, and you neglected good instruction, everything about this was inauspicious. So therefore, you will give birth to two demons. But here's the thing. DT had very pious qualities to her that pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because of this, she got the benediction that her grandson would be Prahlad Maharaj, and he would kill the demon Hiranyakashipu. So even though, sometimes we may do something that is not very good for us on the path of devotional service, sometimes Krishna will see that one little good thing and help us out. And so this was the situation with Diti. And so because she knew that her two twin sons were going to cause a lot of problems, she actually held them within her womb for 100 years, not wanting to give birth to them. And then later, they eventually had to appear, and so they did. And it's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam here about what happens when Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu appear. And this is interesting because we see a lot of this today. So it said, on the birth of the two demons, there are many natural disturbances, all very fearful and wonderful in the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and in between them. There were earthquakes along with mountains on the earth. It appeared that there was fire everywhere. Many inauspicious planets like Saturn appeared, along with comets, meteors, and thunderbolts. So when you write an astrologer, actually, you ask an astrologer a question, should I do this or that? A very good astrologer will look to see what planets are arising. And if you have there's inauspicious planets arising at the time that you ask the question, that means that it'll most likely be an inauspicious result if you do this or whatever. I've experienced that before. So we can see that with these two demons, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, when they appeared, the inauspicious planets were appearing. And their blew winds, which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storms for their armies and clouds of dust for their incense. The luminaries in the heavens were screened by masses of clouds, in which lightning sometimes flashed, as though laughing. Darkness reigned everywhere, and nothing could be seen. The ocean with its high waves wailed aloud, as if stricken with sorrow, and there was a commotion among creatures inhabiting the ocean. The rivers and lakes were also agitated, and lotuses withered. Misty halos appeared around the sun and the moon during the solar and lunar eclipses again and again. Claps of thunder were heard even without clouds, and sounds like those of rattling chariots emerged from the mountain caves. The interior of the villages, she jackals yelled, vomiting strong fire from their mouths, and jackals and owls also joined them with their cries. Raising their necks, dogs cried here and there, now in the manner of singing, now in a wailing. So whenever, we see a lot of times on the earth, there's earthquakes, there's hurricanes, there's all these different inauspicious things, comets, meteors, eclipses. These are actually signs that demoniac personalities are taking birth on this earth. People see, oh, look at this, look at this hurricane here, look at this earthquake here, this tsunami here, and obviously there's victims of these these disturbances, but it's just a sign of the times. And in Kali Yuga, more and more demonic personalities are taking birth. So this was the case with the birth of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. They had come out and they were taking birth. And it is described that when they immediately appeared from Aditi, they were very, very, very strong personalities. And at this time, Hiranyaksha, he was the younger brother. Hiranyakashipu, he will be killed later. But Hiranyaksha, he wanted very much to please his brother Hiranyakashipu. So he took up his mace and he began to try to conquer the earth. And he was going around here and there defeating everybody, even defeating the demigods. The demigods were very much afraid of him. And so what happened eventually, what happens when one becomes very strong and they can't be defeated by anyone, they become very prideful. You know? Oh, I want somebody that's actually a good match for me. And so therefore he goes down into the ocean and he tries to tempt Vraha. And he gets to the palace of Vraha and he pays his obeisances to Vraha, but then it's almost like to make fun of him, like not very sincere obeisances. And so he says, "Oh dear Vraha, challenge me to a fight because I want to fight you." Because originally Vraha, he was a great warrior. And so Vraha tells Hiranyaksha, I'm a little old for that now. Vraha, he's a devotee of the Lord. And generally devotees, they don't respond to these types of very passionate challenges of things. They think things through very calmly. But Vraha tells Hiranyaksha, you should go challenge nobody but Vishnu. He says, "You are so skilled in war. I do not see anyone but the most ancient person, Lord Vishnu, who can give satisfaction to you in battle. Therefore, O chief of the Suras, approach him, whom even heroes like you mention with praise." Then Vraha tells him, "On reaching him, you will be rid of your pride at once, and will lie down on the battlefield surrounded by dogs for eternal sleep. It is in order to exterminate wicked fellows like you, and to show his grace to the virtuous, that he assumes his various incarnations like Vraha." So even though Vraha tells Hiranyaksha, you're gonna get it handed to you. You're not gonna win. Still Hiranyaksha, because he's defeated everybody up to this point. He has this pride. I can't be defeated. Nobody can defeat me. And this is a sign of demons to have this great pride. Quite often you'll see in boxing when a boxer goes 12-0, 13-0, they think they're so great. They think they're so wonderful. I can't be defeated. But they do get defeated by something. Just like, what was it? Muhammad Ali, he got Parkinson's disease or something. And now he can't fight at all.
I know.
What?
Left his body.
Oh, he left his body. Oh, sorry. I haven't kept up. Was that recently or?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay, well. Yeah, so you can see that he was this great, powerful boxer. But as we can see that nobody is unlimited with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever strength one has comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is even true for the pure devotees. As we learned in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Arjuna came back from Dwarka, Arjuna is this great, powerful warrior, and he could fight thousands of men by himself. But when Krishna disappeared from the planet, he couldn't even lift his Gandiva bow. And he was defeated by some cowherd men, which of course our acharyas kind of say was incarnations of Krishna, but still it shows that, this great, powerful Kshatriya was beat up by some cowherd boys. But this is what happens, when Krishna withdraws his mercy, nobody can do anything. There was even a devotee that he used to make this sandesh for Prabhupada every day. And very, very amazing sandesh. And after Prabhupada left the planet, he was trying to make the same sandesh, and he couldn't do it. Not anymore. So whatever strength we have is coming from the empowerment of Krishna, the empowerment of his pure devotees. And as long as we're in alignment with Krishna, we can have that Shakti. But it's up to Krishna to really give us that, to really empower us or not. He's completely free to do whatever he likes. So whatever power we have is not of our own doing. Ultimately, it's like we're being allowed that by Krishna. So therefore, back to our Hiranyaksha, he's going and he's trying to find Vishnu. So Maitreya continues the story here. And he said, the proud and falsely glorious Dayita paid little heed to the words of Varuna, as most demons generally will do. Oh, dear Varuna, he learns from Narada the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he learns from Narada, this great devotee, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, but yet he goes to challenge him to a fight. And he hurried and took himself to the depths of the ocean. So it's described here. I'll read a little bit. He saw there the all-powerful personality of Godhead in his boar incarnation, bearing the earth upon the ends of his tusk and robbing him of his splendor with his reddish eyes. The demon laughed. Oh, amphibious beast. We just mentioned that Krishna's the form of, Matsya. Yeah. The demon then addressed the Lord. And I'm going to read this because I like the trash talk. Because as we see, because in this world, we're imitating what goes on in the spiritual world. So very often before fights, whether it's a big boxing match or it's a schoolyard fight, what always takes place beforehand? Trash talk, right? So this is also what happens with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the demons when Krishna wants to fight. So without further ado, let's read the transcendental trash talk. The demon addressed the Lord. O best of the demigods, dressed in the form of a boar, just hear me. This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions. You cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me. You rascal, he was calling Krishna a rascal. You have been nourished by our enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. O fool, your power is only mystic. So today I shall enliven my kinsmen by killing you. And then it continued. When you fall dead with your skull, smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifice and devotional service will also automatically cease to exist, like trees without roots. So you notice that here on Kashipu, he also had similar mentality. He was thinking, okay, if there's no sacrifices done to Vishnu, all the demigods will cease to exist. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth on the ends of his tusk was frightened, he rose out of the water just as an elephant emerges with its female companion when assailed by an alligator. So, here on Yaksha, he's doing all this trash talk. But as we see here, the earth, she's still very scared because she's in the bottom of the Garbhodakasha ocean. So you see, what does the boar do? He lifts her up out of the water first. And by his mystic potency, he places her on top of the ocean so she can float. And at this time, because Krishna never does just one thing at a time, multiple things are going on at a time. So the earth actually by Lord Vraha's touch. She becomes impregnated, and so they have a son called Narika, who has all opportunities to take the path of devotional service because he's the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But later, even he becomes polluted by association. The Narakasura, he's the demon that stole the 16,000 queens. What? And he's known by two different names. Yeah, same. It's the same person. So he stole the 16,000 queens, and later we see that Krishna had to get rid of him, had to kill him. So we can see that even if you can be the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, still you can fall into bad association because free will is always there. A lot of times people think, oh, I would like to be born in a family of devotees in my next life. And I will sit here and tell you, I have spent many time around many kids growing up in devotee families, and they don't always choose devotional service. And in fact, many of them are not convinced that there's no happiness in the material world. I look at their astrological charts. Yes, Krishna is God, but how do I know there's no enjoyment in me eating illicit sex and intoxication? Because I've never experienced it. So you can also have that mentality too. You can be born in a devotee family. You can still take it for granted. You can be born as the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and still by bad association become contaminated. So we can't actually blame our birth for our reason of not being Krishna conscious. Being Krishna conscious is one's own decision. And no matter what birth you take, you had to make that decision for yourself. Whether you are the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or whether you are born in a family of great devotees, or whether you're born in a family of demons. Like Prahlad Maharaj, but still yet he was a devotee. So therefore, but back to the story, after the Lord sets the earth on top of the carbon dioxide ocean, therefore we get back to our transcendental trash talk. So the demon who had golden hair on his head and fearful tusks gave chase to the Lord while he was rising from the water, even as an alligator would chase an elephant. Roaring like thunder, he said, "Are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? There is nothing reproachable for shameless creatures." So he's trying to deal with the earth, and Hariyaksha's running after him, thinking that, oh, the Lord's running away from me. The Lord placed the earth within his sight, right there, on the surface of the water, and then transfer her his own energy in the form of the ability to float on the water. So here we can see what is the Lord doing. We see one of the purposes of his incarnations is to deliver the pious, help his devotees. So he's helping Bhumi Devi. Well, while the enemy stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and the other demigods rained flowers on him. There's always showering of flowers when the Lord appears. The demon who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, so now this is Krishna's response, Vraha's response. "Indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. For one who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, for you are bound up by the laws of death. Certainly, we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatala and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time, because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I now have no place to go. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers, and now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talk and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in the assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word." So it's a very sophisticated way of saying, put up or shut up. do what you tell me you're gonna do. Maitreya said, "The demon being thus challenged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead became angry and agitated. He trembled in anger like a challenged cobra. Okay, so now Hiranyaksha is really angry. And so it's like hissing, and all of his senses shaken by wrath. The demon quickly sprang upon the Lord and dealt him a blow with his powerful mace. So these maces are no ordinary maces. As I had mentioned before, the earth could fit on the tusk of Vraha. So Earth's a very big planet. So you can imagine, just think maybe one of these maces are like the size of Jupiter or something. Very, very huge mace. The Lord, however, by moving slightly aside, dodged the violent mace. So he missed him. So he dodged the violent mace aimed at his breast by the enemy, just as an accomplished yogi would elude death. The personality of Godhead now exhibited his anger and rushed to meet the demon, who bit his lip in rage, took up his mace again, and began to repeatedly brandish it about. Then with his mace, the Lord struck the enemy on the right of his brow. But since the demon was expert in fighting, O gentle Vidura, he protected himself by a maneuver of his own mace. So you can see they appear kind of equally matched at this point. In this way, the demon Hiranyaksha and the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, struck each other with their huge maces, each enraged and seeking his own victory. So this is the Lord. He's experiencing this, what's called chivalry, the chivalry rasa. This desire for fighting is in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna, Vraha, he's enjoying this. There was keen rivalry between the two combats. Both had sustained injuries on their bodies from the blows of each other's pointed maces, and each grew more and more enraged at the smell of blood of his own person. In their eagerness to win, they performed maneuvers of various kinds, and their contest looked like an encounter between two forceful bulls for the sake of a cow. You guys ever seen that? Two bulls fight for a cow? It's quite a crazy scene. They'll really go at it with each other. O descendant of Kuru, Brahma, the most independent demigod of the universe, accompanied by his followers, came to see the terrible fight for the sake of the world between the demon and the personality of Godhead, who appeared in the form of a boar. After arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon, who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayan, who was assuming the form of a boar for the first time. So at this point, we can see Hiranyaksha and Vraha, they're fighting each other and they're both hurting each other. But we know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always victorious. But sometimes Krishna likes to put us on the edge of our seat, does he not? So there's one small thought. What if Vraha loses? What if he doesn't defeat this demon? And keep in mind, the demigods really want him to defeat this demon because they've been displaced. They've been defeated. They've been defeated by Hiranyaksha. The demigods are often getting in trouble with their cousins, the demons. One's getting victory, one's losing. So you can imagine, you've just lost everything, by your cousin. You're wanting the Lord to come help you out. And Krishna, it's kind of like you often see in an action movie. The main hero never immediately kills the villain. There's always this big fight. And in which it might appear that the hero and the villain, they're very equally matched. And maybe it might even appear that the hero is going to lose at first, right? You always see that in big fight scenes in movies. And this is because sometimes you can even see this, and you see this here in Krishna Leela. Krishna's coming and he's playing the hero. But first, he wants to put up a good fight and create a little bit of transcendental anxiety. So, after arriving at the place of combat, Brahma, the leader of thousands of sages and transcendentalists, saw the demon, who had attained such unprecedented power that no one could fight with him. Brahma then addressed Narayan, who was assuming the form of a boar. Brahma said, "My dear Lord, this demon has proved to be a constant pinprick to the demigods, the Brahmins, the cows, the innocent persons, who are spotless and always dependent upon worshiping your lotus feet. He has become a source of fear by unnecessarily harassing them. Since he has attained a boon for me, he has become a demon, always searching for a proper combat, wandering all over the universe for his infamous purpose. Lord Brahma continued, My dear Lord, there is no need to play with this serpentine demon. He was always very skilled in conjuring tricks and is arrogant, self-sufficient, and most wicked. So Lord Brahma was like, please just get on with this. Get rid of this demon. My dear Lord, you are infallible. Please kill this sinful demon before the demonic hour arrives, and he presents another formidable approach favorable to him. You can kill him by your internal potency without doubt. So we know, like, from reading the Shastras, that at night, the demons become more powerful. That's their time. So during this time, Brahma is telling the Supreme Personality of Godhead, please kill him before the time arrives that he gets stronger. He can really, really put up a good fight. Because at this point, Hiranyaksha has put up this really good fight against Vraha. So it's creating this fear a little bit, Lord Brahma. And as we know, Lord Brahma, he gave Hiranyaksha a boon. So, Lord Brahma, he sometimes, demigods, they sometimes get in trouble by giving boons. So Lord Brahma really wants this dealt with very quickly. My Lord, the darkest evening which covers the world is fast approaching. Since you are the soul of all souls, kindly kill him and win victory for the demigods. So he said, the auspicious period known as Abhijit, which is most opportune for victory, commenced at midday and has all but passed. Therefore, in the interest of your friends, please dispose of this formidable foe quickly. Because we can see, why is this timing so important? Because what just happened? What did DT do during an auspicious time that created these two demons? So therefore, Lord Brahma, he's looking at the timing. He's like, okay, now is an auspicious time for victory. Don't let this pass. Don't let this go. But we know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's never bound by any time. He's never limited. But still, this auspicious time is slowly ticking away like sand through an hourglass. See, sometimes there's a little bit of sand left. So he's like telling Lord Brahma, go ahead, do it. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. So he said, this demon, lucky for us, has come of his own accord to you. His death ordained by you. Therefore, exhibiting your ways, kill him in the duel and establish the worlds in peace. So at this point, Lord Brahma is getting a little bit desperate. He's begging the Lord. And then Maitreya continues. He says, after hearing the words of Brahma, the creator, which were free from all sinful purposes and as sweet as nectar, the Lord heartily laughed. The Lord laughs at Lord Brahma's response and accepted his prayer with a glance laden with love. The Lord, who had appeared from the nostril of Brahma, sprang and aimed his mace at the chin of his enemy, the Hiranyaksha demon, who was stalking fearlessly before him. Struck by the demon's mace, however, the Lord's mace slipped from his hand, and it looked as splendid as it fell down whirling. This was miraculous, for the mace was blazingly wonderful. So we can see here that what just happened. The auspicious time is now passing. Lord Brahma is begging the Lord, please get on with this, because he's a little bit scared. And then we can see the Lord laughs, and then he goes to hit Hiranyaksha. What happens? His mace falls from his hand. So now we got even more transcendental insight. As somebody once said, Krishna will push you to the edge of the cliff. Then he'll push you over. Then he'll catch you. So the Lord's mace falls from his hand. But we can see this is what's about to happen here is another example of how the Lord sees, if somebody has a small bit of good quality within them, the Lord notices this. So we'll see what happens here. Even though the demon had an excellent opportunity to strike his unarmed foe without obstruction, he respected the single law of combat, therefore kindling the fury of the Supreme Lord. So Hiranyaksha, the code in fighting is that you never kill an unarmed opponent. You had to be equally matched. So Hiranyaksha, even though he's this great demon, he still respected this law of combat. He didn't want to have this unfair advantage. Like we commonly see today, this mentality of kick somebody when they're down. But even in the great demons, they didn't have this mentality. So the Lord sees this and he gets mad at Hiranyaksha because why don't you just go ahead and do away with me? But you can see that the Lord's going to give him some special mercy because of this. As the Lord's mace fell from the ground, a cry of alarm rose from the witnessing crowds of the gods and the rishis. The personality of Godhead acknowledged the demon's love of righteousness and therefore invoked his Sudarshan disc. So, and Lord then brings out his Sudarshan disc, and the Sudarshan disc is actually a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whoever's killed by the Sudarshan disc, they get liberation. This is no ordinary way to die. As the disc began to revolve in the Lord's hands, the Lord contended at close quarters with the chief of his Vaikuntha attendants, who had been born as Hiranyaksha, a vile son of Diti. There issued from every direction strange expressions uttered by those who were witnessing from airplanes. They had no knowledge of the Lord's reality, and they cried, "May victory attend you! Pray, dispatch him! Play no more with him!" So now everybody's really everybody watching the fight, they're even more in anxiety. When the demon saw the personality of Godhead, who had eyes just like lotus petals, standing in position before him, armed with his Sudarshan disc, his senses were overpowered, and he began to hiss like a serpent. He bit his lip in great resentment. The demon who had fearful tusks stared at the personality of Godhead as though to burn him. Springing into the air, he aimed his mace at the Lord, exclaiming at the same time, "You are slain, O saintly Vidura!" While his enemy looked on, the Lord in the boar form, the enjoyer of all sacrificial offerings, playfully knocked down the mace from his left foot, even as it came upon him with the force of a tempest. The Lord then said, "Take up your weapon and try again." So he just hit him, and it wasn't successful. So the Lord's like, "Okay, nice try. Try again. Eager as you are to conquer me, challenged in these worlds, the demon aimed his mace at the Lord and once more loudly roared. The Lord saw the mace flying toward him. He stood firmly where he was and caught it with the same ease as Garuda, the king of birds, would seize a serpent. So first he lets Hiranyaksha kind of play with him, beat him up a little bit. And then now, he's just, he's like not taking it anymore. Transcendental anime. Throws the weapon, catches the weapon, kind of like in the movies when somebody shoots a gun and they catch the bullet with their teeth, like that. His valor thus frustrated, the great demon felt humiliated and was put out of countenance. He was reluctant to take back the mace when it was offered to him by the personality of Godhead. So not only does he miss, but Vraha picks up his mace and is like, "Here, try again." He now took a trident, which was as rapacious as a flaming fire, and hurled it against the Lord, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, even as one would use penance for a malevolent purpose against a holy Brahmana. Hurled by the mighty demon with all his strength, the flying trident shone brightly in the sky. The personality of Godhead, however, tore it to pieces with his Sudarshan disc, which had a sharp-edged rim, even as Indra cut off the ring of Garuda. So now Hiranyaksha, he's really upset. So demon, after his trident gets torn apart by the Sudarshan disc, he therefore runs toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and now he's just going to try to see if he can beat him up with his fist. So he hits the Lord, and then the Lord at first, he didn't even feel it with his body. And then, since that didn't work, demons quite often, what's their last line of defense? Then they try to use some mystic potency to try to get out of the situation. Like we see in the 8th canto, the battle with the demons and the demigods. The demons are using all this mystic potency to try to create these illusions to throw off the demigods. So Hiranyaksha then tries this. He's doing all these various mystic things, which I can't go into because we're running out of time here. But then Krishna sees all this and said, "The Lord, the personal enjoyer of all sacrifice, now discharged his beloved Sudarshan, which was capable of dispersing the magical forces displayed by the demon." So, at this point, the Lord just kind of let him go on and on and on and on and on. And then at the last minute, then he throws his disc. And at that very moment, A shudder suddenly ran through the heart of Diti, the mother of Hiranyaksha. She recalled the words of her husband Kashyapa, and blood flowed from her breast. When the demon saw his magic forces dispelled, he once again came into the presence of the personality of Godhead Keshuva, full of rage, and tried to embrace him with his arms to crush him. But to his great amazement, he found the Lord standing outside of his arms. The demon now began to strike the Lord with his hard fist, but Lord Ahosha slapped him in the root of the ear, even as Indra, the Lord of the Maruts, hit the demon with them. Though struck indifferently by the Lord, the conqueror of all, the demon's body began to will. His eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, his arms and legs broken, and the hair on his head scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. So he basically Vraha, after all this, pulling out the disc, the mace, all this, Vraha just defeats it by slapping it. So, therefore, Brahma and the others arrived on the spot to see the fearful tusked demon lying on the ground, biting his lip. The glow of his face was yet unfaded, and Brahma admiringly said, "Oh, who can meet such a blessed death?" So now all the demigods are very happy that Hiranyaksha has finally been killed. They can breathe a sigh of relief. And then so Maitreya, we get to the very end of this story, and Maitreya tells Vidura, "I have explained to you the personality of Godhead coming down as the first boar incarnation and killing in a great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess, as if he were a plaything. This has been narrated by me as I heard from my spiritual master." What to speak of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, whose chest is marked with the Shivatsa? People may take transcendental pleasure in hearing the works and deeds of the devotees, whose fame is immortal. The personality of Godhead delivered the king of the elephants, who was attacked by an alligator, and who meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, the female elephants who accompanied him were crying, and the Lord saved them from their impending danger. So he's hinting towards the pastime of Gajendra. What grateful soul is there who would not render loving service to such a great master as the personality of Godhead? The Lord can be easily pleased by spotless devotees who resort exclusively to him for protection, though the unrighteous man finds it difficult to propitiate him. O Brahmanas, anyone who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in the wonderful narration of the killing of the Hiranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the first boar in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmana. This most sacred narrative confers extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the battlefield, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs and the organs of action. One who listens to it at the last moment of his life is transferred to the supreme abode of the Lord, O dear Shanika. So who's planning on dying today? If you do, you heard the pastime of Lord Vraha. And as I mentioned before, I'll go back to the very beginning of the class. It is said that for one who relishes in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, they are relieved of all material pains. So we can see here how Krishna, he fulfilled all three objectives by his appearance of Vraha. He came, he delivered the pious, he annihilated the miscreants, and everything that he reestablished principles of religion by thus doing these two things. So also it is said that one can pray to Lord Vraha. In the same way, he pulled the earth out of the Garbhodaka ocean and pulled it out all this like mud and muck and everything else. In the same way, the Lord can pull us out. Hearing this path, Vraha can pull us out of this ocean of Maya that we fall into, and he can clear out all the mud and gross muck within our hearts, so that we can become pure devotees. So one can pray to Lord Vraha, please, as you pulled the earth out of this Garbhodaka ocean, please pull me out of this ocean of Maya, which I have fallen myself into. So this is the glories of Vraha. Dave, thank you for giving me a little bit of opportunity to glorify the Lord today. And then tomorrow we'll hear about Lord Nityananda. Shri Vraha Dev Ki. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, nice class. Thank you so much. One question, two quick comments.
Yeah.
One is actually the Lord is also. I mean, the Daityas and the Dityas are also they're brothers because they're cousins, but they're also brothers because they're both from Kasapia.
Oh yeah, cousin brother. Yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah, they're cousins and brothers simultaneously.
yeah, they can do that in the heavenly planets. And my question is the pastime of Vraha coming out of the nose of Brahma in the Bhagavatam?
Yeah.
Because I just read that pastime and I was like went back. I was like, where's the appearance of Vraha? I couldn't find it in the Bhagavatam.
It is Canto 3. Start with chapter 13. From chapter 13 all the way up to 19 is the pastime. Then I believe Vraha coming out of the nose of Brahma is in chapter 13.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, that's it.
Anything else, guys? Did you like the transcendental fight today? Epic.
Thank you. I was just wondering if you know what Sin's Hiranyaksha represents. Like, is that usually a thing where they represent something and that's like killing itself?
That's the thing in the demons in Krishna Lila.
Oh.
Those specific demons in Vrindavan Lila, that I haven't heard that in reference to the other demons. Just that Hiranyaksha, he's originally one of the gatekeepers. Yeah. So.
Gotcha.
That basically Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Ultimately, the main secret behind the reason for their appearance was that the Lord wanted to fight. So this whole thing, this curse was all arranged when the Supreme Personality got it, even though we learned many things at that pastime as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome class.
All right. Rahadev Ki Jai. Now let's go take prashad. Break our fast.